There we are. We are live. Hey, live. Live. I'm not going to edit that out.
Do you want to play now?
Yes, please.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I ate his liver with some fava and a nice Chianti.
Here's Johnny. Vanity. Definitely my favorite sin.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
The power of Christ come upon you.
This is my boomstick.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Good evening and welcome to Shiver, a horror movie podcast. I am your host, David, and with me, as usual, is Nery.
Oh, what's up, man?
Changing up the clothes every time. You're keeping me on my toes. Daniel.
What up, y'all?
And back for the first time since I want to say 2000 and maybe 18.
Whenever
is Geoff. How you doing, Geoff?
Evening, motel people.
Oh man, I'm sharing this now on the
Specifically
Facebooks.
that quote. He's like, let me make sure people.
Damn
hear
it! You know
Geoff.
what? I shared it from Shiver. I'll do it later. All right. So
You're gonna share something that's live later?
yeah, you know, I'll just do it now. I always do this. I'm such an old man.
It was like that time we were on Geekmore and we got a comment and it was like from Geekmore. I was like, what is happening right now?
I found out why it went 3 times. You can unclick each of the ones there. Is weird.
Fantastic.
It's not weird. Everybody knew that. It's not weird. Everybody...
I did not. All right.
That's how the face space works.
Technology is my nemesis.
You kids in your my books.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the popular social networking site Bookface.
So a little bit of context here behind the scenes, as it were. So before Shiver went on our large hiatus, we've got some comments already. Missy says, I didn't do my homework. Someone let me copy.
Copy Geoff.
And then she says, this is like if Boys to Men got back together. Yeah, it's that big. It's that big a deal. We actually sold out the Hollywood Sportatorium. So which hasn't existed in years.
But they cut capacity to 0 because
Right,
yeah.
It's still sold out. So Geoff, before we went on hiatus back in 2018 or 2019, his pick was the next pick that was supposed to be up, and he had picked. I still have this up, Don. Thank you. He had picked Demon Knight. So for those of you that listened last time, you're probably expecting The Conjuring. However, I like to make this so that when we have a guest on, the guest gets to pick what we're going to talk about. And so even though Geoff is in our hearts still original co-host of this podcast, he is still guest appearing on here. So Geoff got to pick. He picked Demon Knight, which is a Tales from the Crypt movie.
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge fan of Tales from the Crypt. However, I had never seen this movie, so this was totally new for me, and I want to gauge where all of us kind of fall in this. Tales from the Crypt got such like widespread critical acclaim. There were like legends that worked on this show, guys like Joel Silver, guys like Robert Zemeckis, Richard Donner. These are Hollywood heavyweights that produced this show and directed episodes for the show, right? I think I looked it up. last night or 2 nights ago, and the show is ridiculously fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Yet somehow this movie manages to be critically panned, and so there's some sort of misconnect there, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But I wanted to see how you guys felt about the movie. I'm not sure how many of us here have seen the show, but do you think that this is something that kind of falls in line with the show? Do you think it deserves that sort of like really low critical rating that it has? We can start with Nery.
What's the critical rating for this movie?
I think it was in the 40 percentile. Let me look it up so I can give you an exact rating.
Oh, that's not abysmal. That's like just regular low.
I guess regular low, sure.
Yeah, that's like regular low. Like regular low. Like if you said like in the teens or 20 something, like, oh, that's
no, it isn't that low. The one that followed, Bordello of Blood. Now that one is very low. It's 38% fresh.
Yeah, that's
on Rotten
still low.
Tomatoes.
Okay, yeah, that's a
But
bit.
64% audience.
Yeah.
Well, the Google user review or percentage for this, because I'm just looking at it on
Well-
Google, is 91% of Google users like it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's very high.
Yeah. I think it's somewhere in between those two numbers. Those two numbers. No, I very much enjoyed the movie. I hadn't seen it before. When I was a kid, I never watched Tales from the Crypt because I always assumed that it was scary. I was wrong. It's not. I've seen like 2 episodes since. The one episode that I saw as a kid was like the body transformation one where the old man.
Oh yeah, classic episode.
Yeah, that's the one that I had seen. And it reminded me very much. And again, I'm saying this, but knowing that I never saw many episodes of this either. But it reminded me a lot of Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's got that feel, like a more humorous Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So I was never like, but so as a kid, I just thought it was scary because of the Crypt Keeper. I assumed it's at the HBO. It has a Crypt Keeper, so I stayed away from it. And then in the years followed, I've seen a couple episodes after, aside from that body changing one, and I was like, oh, this isn't scary. I would like to go back to watch all of them, to be honest with you, watch more of them because I don't find them scary. I will say that this movie, not scary, super funny. It's a lot of fun. I had a lot of, again, first time watching this movie yesterday. I had a lot of fun with it. It was great, and I enjoyed it. I mean, if I was gonna give it a rating, I'd probably give it something like a 75 or 80 or something like. I don't know what
Okay.
rating. Well, I guess we'll get that to the end. But
Yeah.
if you're asking me about Rotten Tomato scores, I think it's it's a really good movie. I think it's really fun. But I'm watching it 20 years after the fact, and I'm watching it for what it is, or 30 years after the fact. I'm watching it and knowing what it is. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Well, it's since become a cult classic, and I think we talked about this on Geekmore when we did cult movies, and you said something that I think is really important to think about sometimes, which is that time, right? Distance between when a movie is released and when you reassess a movie is important. So it something that was critically panned when it came out. You reassess it later and you're like, you know what, this was kind of ahead of its time, or this, we kind of understand what the director was going for now, or something like that. So
yeah, I think if you are, what year did this come out? 94?
95.
Yeah, I could see people going to watch this movie in 1995 and not knowing that it's supposed to be humorous. It's not, so, you know what I mean? It's supposed to be more of a comedy than horror. So if you're going in there for the Tales of the Crypt moniker and you're going for horror, I could see critics being like, what the fuck is this? What's going on here? Like they're not knowing what's going on. I watched it, 25 years later and going like, oh, this is fun. I just had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was really cool. So that's my, I mean, I have some issues with the movie, but we'll get to that later, I guess.
Yeah. No, we certainly will. DeBona?
This is a movie that I watched. I'd seen before we decided to watch it for this, but it had been a long time, so it was good to go back and watch it. This is a movie that definitely has some really bright spots and some things that I don't like that much. So I think that 40%, something like that, is low. because I do enjoy this movie, but I do think that it's also kind of a cautionary tale of, what necessarily works in a 22 to 40-minute time slot does not necessarily a feature film make. There's so much.
Something we're going to talk about, by the way. We do have something scheduled for that.
So I think that going 40 with it is low. I think that if you go in the 40s, then you are one of these people who, like Nery said, didn't know you were in for a schlock fest. You don't know what Tales from the Crypt is about. So I think that that's a low. I do think that score is kind of low, but then I would also say the Google score is on the high side. So I mean, it's hit and miss.
Missy says Tales from the Crypt was like the primetime version of Goosebumps, and I can't disagree with that.
With tits.
With tits, yeah. Usually with tits. Yeah, that's a pretty accurate statement there. Geoff?
This is gonna go on the list of things that if I ever go back in time to talk to young Nery, it's like, hey, you should probably watch Tales from the Crypt. Dog, you should probably be watching this shit.
So I mean, obviously, I recommended this movie. This movie, I will 100% say that I do have some nostalgia to it because there was about 2 years where my cousin and I, when we shouldn't have been watching this movie, we're watching this movie pretty much every week or every other week at least once.
Nice.
So I've easily seen this movie in upwards of 30 to 50 times. I've just seen it 3 times since last week when we said we were going to do this episode.
Those of you who are listening and not watching live, which by the way you should watch live, Geoff actually has it on in the background.
Yeah, I'm playing in the background. It's not again. So to me, I can see that it's not a perfect movie. And Ish from Better Let Me Tell You, perfect. He commented and he sent me a message after, which is perfectly, it fit exactly what it is. It's like, is this a great movie or a perfect movie? Not at all. But is it a fun movie? Absolutely. Like, I have fun watching this movie. And I know we'll get to it with the actors and stuff like that, but I actually do think that a lot of the performances were actually great in this, or entertaining in this. I mean, compared to like Citizen Kane, I'm not, or something like that. When I say great, I'm not meaning it like comparing it to like an Oscar film, but I just think it's a fun movie.
I think if you compare it to Oscar, it's pretty comparable.
Dang. But yeah, so I mean, I don't by any means think it's like a 90% score. In my heart, it's like in the 70s to 80s because again, I have this nostalgia. I watched this movie. I could quote this movie. It had been at least 10, 15 years since I had seen this movie when I previously from when I said, hey, let's do this episode. So I was like, I hope that this isn't just ruined by nostalgia. Like that I loved it from nostalgia purposes. And when I rewatch it, I don't like it. But for me, it still held up and I still loved it. I'm glad that I was also able to find a movie that Dave had never seen. That was a horror movie, so I love it. I enjoy it. And I can see where people may not like it, but I love the movie.
Your thoughts kind of mimic my own. I don't think that this is a good movie, like an objectively good movie, but it's one that is like infinitely enjoyable. It's a movie that you can kick back and I haven't had a chance to rewatch it again, but I have had the desire to go back and rewatch it. And even though this isn't something I saw as a kid, it does feel like an episode of Tales from the Crypt. And so therefore there is that nostalgia because that is a TV show that I watched a lot as a kid. I was obsessed with the Crypt Keeper. His really sort of creepy but funny laughter and voice. It was amazing to see that again and to see the introduction of the TV show in high definition was really cool because I was used to seeing it on like a little on a little TV, and I actually I've bought a couple of the seasons on iTunes, but they haven't been remastered. They're still in standard definition, so they look just like how I remember them. So it's fairly grainy. It's not anything that to write home about. It's just a vehicle for watching the show again. So it was really nice to see something from Tales from the Crypt that I hadn't seen before. And I personally enjoyed it quite a bit. Not good, but really, really enjoyable. It's the right kind of trash, I think, is how I would put it.
Like the Jerry Springer of horror movies.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. So wait, Jerry Springer or Maury Povich?
Same.
Oh, this is Jerry though. This is Jerry.
This is Jerry. Okay.
Nobody's taking a paternity test.
You are not the demon.
I just had an image of two demons sitting on stage, kind of like something right out of Stay Tuned, like with just one of those demented programs that they had on Stay Tuned, with two demons sitting on stage, and there's another demon there in a suit, with a little piece of paper like Maury, and then he looks over and he grunts over, and then one demon gets up and starts shouting.
Yeah, I just did it.
I
just did it right now. I just did the whole thing. Right
yeah,
now.
but everyone in the audience is a demon too.
Some little hellion with the camera's got to chase the other one backstage so we can get him crying.
Oh, it's so good. All right, so we touched upon this very briefly when we were talking about this just now, but I think Demon Night as an extended episode of Tales from the Crypt, right? This was a 30-minute format, right? The TV show. And the episodes, in my opinion, most of them were pretty good. They hit much more than they miss, right? As an anthology, sometimes there's going to be some clunkers in there, but they kind of followed a specific mold. There was definitely humor. There was some scares involved. Nery, there are some episodes that are like legitimately scary. It all depended on who wrote the episode.
About The Shining, so you're you have to say right now. You have to earn back that. You have to earn back that warning caliber because I was like,
I mean, I don't care. So, does this feel, for those of us that have seen Tales from the Crypt, does it feel like a Tales from the Crypt story? And does that format, the extended format, it's basically 3 episodes, kind of ramped into one. Does the format work?
Well, the interesting thing about this movie is it was actually written before the Tales from the Crypt show.
Mm-hmm.
The script for this was written in 87. It just passed around to different studios for a bit until Tales from the Crypt was like, hey, we like this. We want to add this into our. So it was out there before it, and it's also the one of the first time they didn't base a story off any of the comics.
Right.
So that's another thing. This is what the first original story from Tales from the Crypt that was not based off of one of the comics. Mm-hmm. So it is different in that sense. So it may have it is going to have a different tone because it doesn't have anything to rely on from before, except for a little bit of like that pattern, like you said, that a lot of the Tales from the Crypt movies take, that the humor, the like the get the pussy off the table kind of jokes and stuff like that, like that's classic Tales from the Crypt, like those jokes, but it absolutely has a different tone than what it is. Also, they tried to make this the start of an extended universe. Mm-hmm. Which is what they were asked to do by Tales from the Crypt, was to set this up for a trilogy of films. So they had a certain set of instructions that the series really didn't, because each was pretty much its own episode. So there was a lot of additional things having to do with this one that the show didn't have to necessarily worry about, because the people running Tales from the Crypt, were like, hey, we want you to make this whole world, we want to do 3 movies out of this. We want to, and make it original. So there's a reason why it may not fit with that Tales from the Crypt TV series.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing about it being an extended episode of Tales from the Crypt is oftentimes Nery made the comparison to the Twilight Zone earlier, and oftentimes Tales from the Crypt served as cautionary tales. A lot of times they were allegorical to an extent. There was a lesson to be drawn from this. They were all they were different ones were about different reasons that that people that were lifted up fell. And so, that's not necessarily something that happened in this one. It's very obvious that this was not written to be a Tales from the Crypt movie, because there's no rise and fall, there's no big surprise or anything like that. And I don't even know that necessarily takes anything away from the movie. I just think that you remove the bookends of the Crypt Keeper and you just release this movie as Demon Knight if somebody had, and I don't think it would have made very much of a difference one way or the other. They interject the humor and some things like that, but that's what's always missing for me when I watch Demon Knight as a Tales from the Crypt movie is I feel like there's no lesson to be learned. And I know that sounds ridiculous from Tales of the Crypt, but you go back and you watch some of the best episodes, Yellow, Abracadaver, Death of Some Salesman. There's a reason that these people are being tortured or having to go through hell, or that bad things happen.
Someone needs to get their comeuppance.
Yes, exactly. And that's where that was a spot that Tales from the Crypt filled, and this movie didn't do that. So I enjoy the fact that the Crypt Creepers at the beginning and the end, the scene with the bathtub and with John Larroquette and stuff like that at the beginning.
That's great.
That makes it feel very Tales from the Cryptish. That stuff is great, but the actual movie, actually Demon Knight, to me doesn't feel anything like Tales from the Crypt. And the only reason you think about that is because it's called Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. So I don't really look at it as an extended episode. And what Geoff said is probably the reason why.
I think that those bookends, the connective tissue to the show, kind of serve to remind us how different the movie in the middle is.
Yeah.
Right. Without that there, you wouldn't have the connective tissue that binds it to the show. But it also, because it's there, it's reminding you how different the progression of this story is from Tales of the Crypt. However, I do think that that introduction is very Tales from the Crypt.
Yes.
In fact, there's an episode which I can't remember the name of now that starts off almost exactly the same way. About a woman conning a guy and calling her her actual lover to come over. So I was like, oh man, that's so cool that they're bringing in that feel of the show. So even though the movie didn't quite have that Tales from the Crypt feeling to go along with it, it was, I think, technically filmed as a Tales from the Crypt episode. To me, like a lot of the camera angles that were used,
and
felt very Tales from the Crypt.
The special effects,
it all felt very Tales from the Crypt. So even though thematically it wasn't very similar, this may have been something that could have been like a more off episode, because there were occasionally episodes that it was just all hell breaking loose, and maybe that's what this was. So I think that it's more Tales from the Crypt ish than you and Geoff have suggested, even though the movie existed before the show, right? But I think that there's enough there for me to say, you know what? Yeah, all right, it's Tales from the Crypt. Nery?
Yeah, I thought I went first. For this whole thing. Yeah, right.
Well, no, because you asked him about the show and if the show was an extended, but he's never watched the show, so
I've never
it's hard
watched
for him
the
to gauge
show.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Plot, right? Does this narrative work, right? Like the taking away everything that ties it to the TV show, like as a story, does the story work, right? The show was known for having these like amazing stories, and would you say that this is a great story, like special effects aside, tone and all that aside? What did you like about the story, or didn't? Is that one of the things that you think didn't really work for it?
Yeah, that was one of my issues with it wasn't really clear. Like I had to ask Geoff about it. Like what the stars meant on the hands and what I was still kind of confused as to what was happening in that sense. It wasn't really clear. The overall picture was clear in the sense of like this is Jesus's blood, I guess, and then it gets filled up by the blood of whoever is the holder of it, the protector of it, I guess. But the 5 stars thing, the 7 stars thing, I'm sorry, is not really clear. I don't know what's happening. They align when they get close to somebody, when they
Yeah,
get
that part got wonky because there's like that one scene where he's like, the 7 stars have to align and there have to be 7 people, and it's like, why do there have to be 7 people? All they did was show up and massacre anybody that got in the way of like getting the key, right?
Well,
Right.
because whoever's the last person alive is the person he's supposed to transfer the key to. Because he even tells Jada, "You're the one."
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but does it have to be 7 people in the room? So if there was only 6 people in the room, does that mean
the stars wouldn't have aligned?
That he wouldn't have transferred the vial?
Right. So the way I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Geoff, because you've seen this way more than I have. But
you seen it more than once, Geoff.
So
times.
The collectors can only collect the key, the vial, when the stars align themselves in a certain position. And so the tattoo on the hand, the stars are constantly moving, and it represents the stars that have to align themselves.
Okay.
Right?
Well, the collector is actually Billy Zane's character.
Yeah, but there's a different collector at the end.
Right.
So what I'm saying is the collector can only attempt to take the key when those stars align.
No, because he was chasing him at the beginning. They say it in the story that there's 7 keys that once they get the 7th key, hell on earth will come up. They've already collected 6. So this is the last key. Breaker's got the last key that isn't in the possession of the demons.
Right. So I had to imagine that the other keys were taken when the stars aligned.
Well, no, remember the stars aligning has nothing to do with the demons. That has to do with Breaker's character with the Demon Knight. That once the stars align, he knows that he's in the right place because the stars are only going to align when he's in a location where whoever is going to be his next heir to the key is going to be there. And which it happens to be 7 people need to be there for each star. Whoever survives the situation, he transfers the key over.
See, but at the same time, what gets confusing about that particular story element is when Billy Zane shows up, he's like, I thought y'all would be safe because there weren't 7 of you. But then he showed up with the sheriff and the deputy, and that made 7, and now you're not. And it's like, so if Billy Zane had showed up by himself, getting after the main guy, like, then would he have not killed all the other people? Because he seemed pretty adamant in the fact that unless there were 7 of them, Billy Zane wasn't going to show up and kill everybody. And so that's why he didn't say anything about them being in danger. But when he shows up with the 2 sheriffs, or the sheriff and the deputy, whatever, then that makes 7. And then that is what allows Billy Zane to condemn this house. That's where I'm with Nery, where that part of the story gets real washy.
Well, and the stars weren't aligning until the end. So if the stars
when he shows up to the hotel, they circle up on his hand.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but so would he not have transferred the key to Jada Pinkett's character had Billy Zane not attacked them?
So what it implies is that once that aligns, something's going to happen in which there's something that, so it could in fact be what you're saying, that the collector does have something to do with the collector, that there's a big event, but he's trying to avoid it because he can take the key at any time. But it just happens to be that Breaker gets to that place, the 7 people come in, the things align. So Billy Zane's character knows that whoever's left of this, if he doesn't murder everybody, is going to be the next person to take the key.
So if the stars aren't aligned, he can't pass the key on. So that's why he didn't think that, that necessarily everybody would be in danger.
Correct.
The fact that the stars are aligned is why Billy Zane has to kill everyone else, because this is one time he's allowed to pass the key on.
Because now there's 7 people in the building.
This is why we talk things out, right?
Okay, but the stars aligned before there were 7 people in the building.
Right. That's why he's saying he went into the building even though the stars were aligned. He said, so it's going to happen, but there's only 5 people here, so it's not going to be right now. These people are safe. They're not going to come for me because there's no 7 people in here. But then, like we said, the sheriff shows up. That the 2 of them, it makes the 7.
So I'm with Nery. I think that this is definitely not clear enough, because this is still a lot of guessing at what exactly something means.
I just checked, and the stars are aligning that I'm not understanding what the fuck.
Are they all 7 there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
14,
This is,
I'm so lost.
His just made a question mark.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's I mean, it could be a MacGuffin. Ultimately, it doesn't. The stars don't really fucking matter.
It doesn't. It really doesn't matter. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's, to me. That's what I was gonna say. It was like the plot. I had some questions in the plot. It didn't take away from the movie, because this is not one of, you know what I mean. It's not a murder mystery. I don't. And it's not I fucking need, you know what I mean. It doesn't. It's not Usual Suspects. It's not like I don't need it to be like, oh, it's perfect. It's fine. It is what it is. It's a fun movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I did have questions about it, but it wasn't by any means that this did my questions of the plot take away from my enjoyment of the movie. So that's
Right.
is speaking highly of that. So
Debona, you have any other
Story wise, no. There are a couple of like, I don't know that I would necessarily call them plot holes. There's a couple times in the movie where you're like, this doesn't seem to add up with the way the story's being told. Like when the kid first shows up in the tunnels, and they come back through the hotel and they rush upstairs. Like, there's a barrier at the top of the stairs, and they pull the kid through that seamlessly, yet he still feels the need to touch the kid to the key to the kid to see if he's been possessed, even though he's already come through a barrier that they know is stopping them. So just little things like that sometimes where I'm like, okay, like I said, that's not a plot hole. That's just like a little, I get, he wants to test the kid and stuff like that. I guess they kind of halfway explain at one point at the end why Billy Zane is able to do so much more than these other demons, because he says something about
a higher level demon.
Yeah, like he refers to others as lower level demons. But throughout
that's
the movie,
why he has penis flames.
Yes, exactly. And so you're watching it and you're like, man, like I
think it's gonorrhea.
Billy Zane loves the penis flame thing.
Yeah.
He in the documentary that
what do you think? What do you think sank the Titanic, man?
Well, he got this role. He got the Titanic role because of this movie.
Really?
God bless America.
The timing lines up. So that's
well, no, he says it and they say it in the documentary that they loved him as the villain in this movie, and they gave him the role of the villain in Titanic.
Story, but the other thing about the story, and I guess it's just, like you said, there are so many things that you could just chalk up to MacGuffin, but it makes sense that originally the blood that's in there, right? That's Jesus's blood, so it makes sense that would do something. But I guess we're just supposed to kind of understand that once you become the holder of this key, then like that power is kind of transferred into you, so someday it can be filled with your blood. And so like that part's always kind of weird to me, right? Where it's like, I mean, before he got this key, he was just some dude. It's not like they went the dogma route where they're like, no, you had to get this key because you are a descendant of Jesus.
But I'm okay with this because I saw that in the story too. I questioned that too, but it's like, I like the fact that after protecting the key and after killing demons, you're doing God's work.
Okay, there we go. That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, it didn't have to be explained to me. That's the way I thought it. I'm like, oh, so anybody's blood? And then I thought, no, it's the guy who's holding its blood, which makes sense because he's doing God's work.
Okay,
and he even said, Q. What's up, Q?
What's up, Q? It's good to see you here. She says Jesus's blood is an interesting place to jump back in on the podcast.
We've taken a hard left since the last time you listened, Q.
but he says it also because they ask, they're like, wait, is that blood? And he goes, well, some of it, because
some of it,
and if you remember in that flashback to the crucifixion, that lightning bolt, when he's holding the key about to give it to the demon, that lightning bolt strikes essentially, kind of showing you that there's an omnipotent power that is, overseeing all this. So they can easily transfer and be like, hey, you've got Jesus power now, to the people. But yeah.
I figured it was something like
is Nery Googling omnipotent?
Omnipotent. No. I completely know what omnipotent.
I figured it was something like when you put water into like a jug or
like the last bit of shampoo
that had like shampoo or something. Like now you've got water in there, but there's still some shampoo in there, right, and you never quite get all the shampoo out, right? So if you can keep dropping that blood, right, and it's got the guy before you and it's got the guy before him, but somewhere in there's a little bit of Jesus blood still in there.
Well, yeah,
so it all just mixes together, and eventually what you have is diluted Jesus blood.
Remember, boys and girls, when you have the key, it's not just the blood of the person you got it from, but the blood of of every person that they've ever gotten it from.
which makes Jada putting all that blood in her mouth really gross.
Yeah, super gross.
That's gross. That's gross. Like the blood of one person in her mouth is not fucking gross enough. Yeah, all right. No, that's the way I took it. I mean, I saw it as like God is the Father to the Holy Spirit and Jesus, and every dad in the history has always watered down the bottle of soap, and you just keep watering it down.
Yeah.
Eventually, though, it's got to catch up with you. Like when you replace your parents' vodka with water, and then eventually you go to pour a glass. You're like, oh damn! I remember when I was a teenager and replaced this.
Right.
The child becomes the adult.
Geoff, is there anything about the story that kind of struck you?
I mean, I think it has a pretty clear, beginning to end. You get the gist of it. You can see that they're trying to do an expanded universe on it. What I do like about the beginning, and the thing is obviously when the first time you watch this movie, maybe being as a kid, as an adult, we've watched enough horror movies that you can figure out who the bad guy is from the jump. You don't really know that at the beginning of this movie. You just see two guys a guy chasing another guy, and the guy in front blows up that guy's car. There's no real up until I mean, you can tell once they're in the hotel and you get those like smirks from Billy Zane, you can tell something's not right there. But
listen, as a former insurance claims adjuster, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's not Billy Zane's fault, that accident. That guy just in the middle of the fucking road.
Yeah. It was, and then shot his shit up.
Yeah.
We got another comment here. Armando Lopez says Bordello of Blood was awful in capital letters. Shame they couldn't expand it into an arc.
Yeah, making Demon Knight into an arc. Yeah. I mean,
Bordello
they do have the key in there, but it has a totally different use in Bordello Blood. But yeah. So I mean, I like that aspect of it, that at the beginning of it, you don't really know who the bad guy is per se. You can figure it out now but you don't. And I enjoyed, and I know we're going to talk about character development, so that's something I'll mention later. But I do like where it goes. There are those little things like Bona. Every time I watch it, I'm like, there's a door frame right there to the basement. Why are you guys going all the way upstairs and losing all that ground on the bottom? I'm with you on that 100%. But I think overall, it's still an entertaining story. Like, I wish they would have done a sequel, because I would have loved to see Jada and that new collector who looked dope as hell, dealing with something like that.
Question. What happens in the daytime? Like, do they not attack in the daytime? It's just like a
Yeah, he made it seem like they just had to survive the night.
yeah. He
So
just said like, oh,
See,
we just gotta survive the night, and I was like, are they like allergic to sunlight? Which makes sense, I guess. But I'm like,
but at the end, the collector's trying to get on the bus while the sun's still up.
Well,
'cause
that's
the
why.
collector's
That's
probably-
why I thought that. Well, yeah, it could be that the collector's a higher level demon. Could be that they can go in the sun, and the lower level ones can't, right? Which would explain the eyes, right?
Yeah.
But then again, Billy Zane also, like when she kind of gets him in the eye, you can see some green coming out from under his
the wound,
his eyeball there. So that's why I thought it had something to do with like astrology, that it had something to do with like with the stars in the sky, that there were certain stars that had to be in a specific formation for the demons to be, because he says they're interdimensional, right? So maybe that had to do with it. I don't know. I'm still not unconvinced that physical stars had nothing to do with it.
Well, another explanation for this, because I have so much like backstory information about this movie. Billy Zane was originally written as the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So in the original script, Billy the Collector is the devil. And in fact, there was a completely different ending that they rewrote after showing it to test audiences.
Okay.
Where it's but the whole time he's considered a devil. So that could be something to do with it, about the fact that they can walk in the daylight, but maybe these demons can't.
Mm-hmm.
Because even
the
in
whole
the
movie
flashback
takes place at night. The whole movie takes place at night.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and in the flashback to the crucifixion, they're in hoods when they're out in the daylight.
Very true.
Yeah.
They're also like reptilian looking. So
right. But yeah. So but yeah, I mean that could be one of the reasons why the Collector can walk in the sunlight, the other ones can't, because he originally was supposed to be the devil, like the creme de la creme of demons.
Even so, he starts out in a cowboy hat, and so he's
Yeah.
the second Collector,
and the duster.
and the duster. Yeah, it could be that they're trying to keep as much sun off of them as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the Collector at the end's got like a really wide brimmed hat.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the Undertaker hat.
Yeah, like the Undertaker hat.
It's a
So that does make
10-gallon
sense.
hat. One of the things that to me this reminded me of, now I'm not saying it's anywhere near the quality of this movie, but plot wise, it felt to me reminiscent. I want to be very clear on that, of Night of the Living Dead, because you've got this group of people. It's a disparate group of people holed up in one place, and there's no consensus as to what it is that they should do. Some people think they should run, some people think that they should stay, and it reminded me a lot of Night of the Living Dead, where you've got these two camps, right? You've got one guy saying, listen, we got to go in the basement, this is going to be the safest place for us, and another guy saying, there's no way I'm going in the basement, we should definitely do this. And the sort of like infighting that you get between the group, it to me it had a even if it was only like a passing influence to Night of the Living Dead, it did remind me of that a little bit. The demons kind of sort of behaved like zombies, they didn't shamble anywhere, but they had that sort of like weird they're just kind of trying to get you thing going on. So I don't know if I'm the only one who, after explaining that, kind of gets that feeling.
No, after hearing you say that, I mean, I can see where you're drawing the parallels.
Yeah, it's an onslaught of supernatural beings. It's once you boil anything down to its bare essentials, you start.
Yeah, and I mean, and there are plenty of tropes here to be found. Like when we're talking about the story wise, a couple of the ones that are hilarious to me is the fact that anybody who picks up a gun is suddenly, just like a sure shot. Like it's like
CCH Pounder.
Yeah,
or Roger Rabbit.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit shot the one off the Cordelia.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
he hit it like he was.
But once
hitting
he
him
said
everywhere.
shoot for his eyes, it was pop pop.
Well, he clearly had practiced quite a bit, because he was planning on taking out the entire post office.
Yeah, what
And,
the fuck is that? What was up with that story?
Well, because when the movie was written, that's when a bunch of those post people were going postal and actually shooting up post offices. So they put that in there. But notice he didn't have any ammunition for any of the guns. They even said it. All he had was that massive
Right.
grenade vest.
So,
all he had,
yeah,
all
he
he had
was a one-fold suicide vest.
That's it.
There was one moment in this that for the story, I don't, for the story or for anything, it blows my mind. This moment in the movie, they make it up to the attic where they find those guns, and they're all getting and so it's the cop, it's CCH Pounder, and it's the kid, and it's Uncle Willie, and then they're like, where is everybody? And he's like, I don't know, I'll go find him. She's like, take the kid, and it's like, why? Why does he need to go back downstairs and go with because Uncle Willie needs someone to attack? I get that, but yeah, you're staying upstairs. I get you only have one arm, but still, it's a kid, man. Like, what is he gonna do?
It's an allegory for puberty because it takes him right into the room with all the tits.
But he didn't even get to see a tit. He didn't even get to see a tit. He got a comic book.
That's true.
12-year-old want nothing more to see one titty. Uncle Willie got 14 titties.
But another fun fact about the movie, he was talking about how it just, and Billy Zane was laughing about it, that apparently not Billy Zane, Uncle Willie,
Sadler?
Dick Miller.
Dick Miller,
Yeah.
he messed up his lines every take. And he's like, we had to do it, film it like all day. He's like, all these naked women just kept distracting me. And he was like, so Billy Zane was like, I know what he was doing. He kept messing up the lines. He wanted to just see naked women.
Veteran move.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. So we mentioned a little bit, and we're getting into it now. You know, talking about Dick Miller, and we've mentioned a couple of these actors now. The characters, I think, in this movie are, at least for me, they were kind of the driving point. They really sell this movie. There's not very many of them, right? We've got
7.
well,
7 plus Billy Zane.
There's 7 plus Billy Zane, right? But one of them dies like pretty much right away. So, which, by the way, that death, oh my God, getting
Heads up.
punched right in the fucking face, and it goes
Heads
right
up.
through. Oh, that was amazing. So do you think the characters were well defined? Was there development that you cared for? Right, it's kind of hard to have characters without development. And are there any standout performances? Now, I'm pretty sure I know what the answer to that's going to be, but I want to hear from you guys. Nery?
Yeah, Billy Zane in the I think this was probably his best role. If I mean, Titanic was good too, but he was, I mean, what else did he do? He did fucking
The Phantom.
I really like him in the Phantom.
let's stick to this.
And Thug number 4 from Back to the Future.
That's right.
He played Billy Zane in Zoolander.
That's true.
Yeah, this is it, I guess. Yeah, you guys are affirming my earlier thought. This is it. He was great in this, man. I thought it was fun. He did. I mean, you could tell he had fun. Like, you know, I was talking to Geoff, and Geoff was like, "This is his favorite movie," and I'm like, "This. It looks like he has a lot of fun." Like that bit with the sponge in his mouth. Holy, that made me laugh out loud.
Which
I was
he
like,
came up with that.
Oh, did he?
He went to the prop department and said, "Hey, do you guys have a sponge? Preferably a new one." And they were like, "Yeah." And he tried the gag
I mean,
out.
it could go either way, though.
Like, yeah. And Billy Zane, he said, he's like, most people, the majority of the time, people come up to me, it's about this movie. And he tells me that he's like, and I love the fact that this was one of the most fun movies I did.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was fun. The characters were good. Some characters I thought were gonna stick around longer did not. I did not think that the chick was gonna die as quick as she did. The
Cordelia, the prostitute.
Cordelia. I didn't think she was gonna die as quick as she did. I thought for some reason the old trope in Hollywood is like, oh, the poor simpleton was gonna make it. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be the hero or become a hero throughout this whole thing, and he did not. Spoiler alert! I don't know if some of you have not seen this, but he did not make it. So, but I thought everybody did great. CCH Pounder was fantastic. You know, like she always is. Yeah, I think my favorite is between Billy and I really did like CCH Pounder a lot. I really did like her a lot, but that might be my bias from The Shield. 'Cause I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Well, I think that she had the best line in the movie.
Get your pussy off the table.
Well, okay, she had the two best lines in the movie because "Get that pussy off the table" is an amazing line,
Amazing.
and "It's lunchtime" is fucking great too. I
I
think
would
that
also
that's
like to throw in
one of the best, before the kill lines.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
me giving you the finger, asshole.
Oh,
Yeah.
She raises the thumb.
She killed that shit. That was great.
Yeah.
I mean, what gets me about the characters in this movie is while they all did a good job, I think a lot of the character and development in this movie boils down to every character in this movie could have been played by anyone, and if they had been a decent actor, it would have been equally successful, except for Billy Zane's character. That being said, something that I never thought I would say of what I remembered about this movie, and that is that the Thomas Hayden Church, Lowell's character, was he's I found myself not enjoying that role because he's an asshole, but he did it so well.
Yeah.
And
wow.
What? You
I'm
didn't think so?
I didn't want to speak ill of him, but I'm like, I was telling Geoff, I was like, did Thomas Hayden Church forget how to act in this movie? Like, he took a quick hiatus. Like, he's such a good actor. He's a good actor in Wings. He's a good actor in Sideways. He's a phenomenal actor in Sideways. He's such a good actor in so many other things. And then this, he just
and in George of the Jungle too.
And Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3 was even Spider-Man 3, which was a hot garbage of a movie. He still did better in his performance than this was. Woof.
Yeah, no, and I mean, look, it's not. I guess it's not necessarily that it was a good performance. It was the wrestling heel thing, right? Like, he did a good job of making me hate him.
I'm with you. I
think that
I liked his performance.
I think that's more writing. I think the writing of him being an asshole. He's supposed to be an asshole. It could have been played by anybody, and it would have been an asshole, but it would have been a believable asshole as opposed to this guy. Like, hey, buddy, I don't gotta listen to fucking you.
So like I said, and that just going back to the characters, because you're right, it could have been played by anybody. It just so happens that on my go through this time, I found myself appreciating the effort put into making me dislike this guy. Mm-hmm. And as far as everybody else, they all played their part well. They all did what they were supposed to do. But yeah, I mean, head and shoulders above everybody else is the fact that Billy Zane was incredible in this movie.
This other dude did a good job. This the collector, the what's his name?
William Sadler.
Yeah, he did a good job, I thought.
Yeah, he was pretty.
The guy from Shawshank.
Yeah.
Oh man, another good line is fucking heads up.
Oh yeah, that's a great
when he punches through the face. God.
Through the face.
But so me. So yeah. Billy Zane, this is my favorite role Billy Zane's ever done. I adore this character. I do think that William Sadler, like, he had a key role because he had to play this person that, even though he's in a house with all these people, he's alone. He's still, he has to bear. He's carrying this burden of. He's lived since World War I. That's when he got the key. So he's been alive since World War I. He has to play this guy who's sizing up these people while trying to protect them, while trying to keep himself alive, even though he knows ultimately what's going to end up happening likely to him. He knows how the story is going to end, but he still fights, still does what he's going to do. One of the people. Oh, let me go. One thing I wanted to say about Billy Zane too is the acting that he gives when he's trying to tempt the people is absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing and does so much for the character development of especially Cordelia.
Yes, that's where I was going to go with that. Is you had certain characters like Jada Pinkett's character. She only said a few lines, but everybody else basically told her story for you. Like, you could tell she's the workhorse of that place. Then you find out from CCH that she's on work release. but you can already kind of tell when you see how she, like how she's dressed, how she's acting. Like you can tell that there's something going on. But she's like even the whole that line with Cordelia. It's like, oh, the guacamole didn't get out of your sheets. Like you can tell that Jada Pinkett's character is this kind of like workhorse. Now, the thing with her is you could tell. I felt like the rest of the cast had chemistry, and she didn't. And if you listen to the documentary, she's one of the people that wasn't on it. The moment they stopped filming, she would just go to her trailer and be in there with her trainer and not talk to any of the cast, not do anything with anybody. So I think you can see that in her performance and her interaction with everybody else. She's that one, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know that necessarily is a bad thing though, because she is like destined to be this person who's different, and there is something, even if it's only an acknowledgement of like an inner strength between her and William Sadler, so you're right that there isn't the chemistry there that like CCH Pounder had with Charles Fleischer or that
Willie
that Cordelia had with Willie, or anything like that. But I think that if it had to have been with anyone, at least it was there, because plot wise it kind of works.
I can see that.
Can we talk about the weird rule that Carol Pounder had to I don't take strangers, I don't take, like, it's a hotel. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
I don't take people I don't know.
I don't know. It's a fucking hotel. What are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. How are you functioning if you're only housing people that you know in a hotel? I was like, oh, this is a weird line to that. You know what I mean? It's just, I get it.
Real blow to your bottom line when somebody can afford their apartment.
Yeah. I get it. It's for the gag sake of him showing the money, and she's like, well, I'll fucking make an exception or whatever. But I just thought it was funny. When I heard it, I was like, "Don't you have? Isn't this a hotel? Like, who the fuck?" Like,
it gave me kind of like that vibe of, which is something that doesn't really happen anymore these days. But there used to be, like long-term, like extended stay hotels, like guys who were basically renting their hotel room as apartments.
There's a chain of those now called extended stay.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's the same. Billy Zane kind of steals the show. Anytime he's on screen, he's chewing up scenery and spitting it back out and chewing it back up again. And
the scene when he's like, I've had enough of this yeehaw cowboy bullshit.
You fucking ho dunk po dunk motherfuckers. He ad-libbed that. That's another thing that Sadler said, is that him and Billy Zane ad-libbed a lot of stuff together when they were in their interactions, and he's like the way he can just come up with that shit like that. That wasn't written. He came up with that. It's just a testament to further his amazingness in this movie.
I also really we've talked about Pounder a lot, but I really enjoyed Charles Fleischer in this movie. As soon as I saw him, I was like, is that fucking Roger Rabbit? And and sure enough, I looked it up and I was like, holy shit, fucking Roger Rabbit's in this movie. And I would have liked to have seen him, go on a little longer, because I think he's actually a pretty good actor. I think he did a pretty good job of giving this like really hurt and lonely individual a very likable and personable quality.
This is who he became after Jessica kept playing patty cake with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. He went postal.
He did. He lost it.
I like that Dave was like, he's a pretty likable guy. He was like, he was gonna fucking blow up a post office.
Yeah, even so, I still think that he's someone that the audience can feel sorry for.
Dave's like, let's not jump to conclusions about mass shooters.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what he was going to do. You sure there was a signed confession letter and a grenade belt, but we don't know.
The actress who played Cordelia was fantastic too. That's something that very easily can go into camp territory. and she didn't play the character that way. I think even though a lot of the situations were humorous, and there's definitely a lot of humor to be found in the movie. The actors treated their characters with a lot of respect, and they played it straight. To me, the only one who was like playing it as the funny guy was Dick Miller, and he's so fantastic at that. And we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but it's great to finally see Dick Miller have a role in a movie where, you know, he's actually around for quite a bit, you know, and it's more than just a cameo or even an extended cameo.
Yeah, I mentioned to you, he hadn't even read the script when he signed on. He was just like, "Oh, I'm an old." They told me you're an old man in a building. He's like, "All right, I'll do it." And then he read the script. He's like, "Oh shit, this is like a serious. I'm in this movie a lot."
Yeah,
it was the first time he wore prosthetics in a movie. Also,
oh really?
It was the first time ever that he wore prosthetics. And he in the documentary, he's like, "I hated it. I fucking hated it. I won't. I never like." He's like, "It was awful." But yeah. He was the first one.
He was great. I think he did a great job as like one of these possessed demons. For me, it's definitely Billy Zane. I love the development that they gave to Jada Pinkett. You know, she starts off as someone with a chip on her shoulder, and you know, deservedly so. But there's these little hints of who she really is on the inside. Like in her room, there's a poster of Paris with the Eiffel Tower that you see the first time that William Sadler goes into her room, and that's what Billy Zane is tempting her with, right? He's like, "Oh, you want to be the girl who travels. You want to be the girl who sees the world." Mm-hmm. And those scenes, like you said, were fantastic. You know, he really does
I like
get
the fact that he played it differently for everybody he was trying to seduce. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't cookie cutter. Like, this is my seducing voice. He did it differently with everybody. You know what I mean? Like when you saw that scene, which is a great scene because of all the titties, but when he was in that scene, he was like, you know, telling Willie what he always tells everybody what they want to hear, but he did it and it played it up in a different way, and I appreciated that.
Right, and there's an awesome, I guess subtlety is not the word, but there's an awesome level of knowledge of who you're trying to seduce when you realize that for this one character you've got to be this loving, compassionate person, and for this other it's like, I need a bottle of liquor. That's it. Yeah, I got him.
Not subtlety, nuance.
Nuance. Yeah. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Like, you know, and I mean, it's just like, he knew those levels. It's, and you're right. That was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Billy Zane, he, when he auditioned for the movie, he walked in with a briefcase and opened it up and it had a bunch of wigs, because this is the first movie where he actually, like, he was always trying to hide his baldness. He had been bald for a long time, so he was always wearing wigs in all of his films and all of his stage performances prior to this. And Ernest Dickinson was like, no, I like your look without it. And he's like, oh, let me close this box of hair then. Let me walk out of here.
I shaved my head for this role. That's it. That's the ticket.
Any final thoughts, or I think we kind of covered all the characters. Yeah. Well, all right. So one of the things that to me kind of stand out in a movie that had like virtually no budget, comparatively speaking, is special effects. Right now, there aren't a whole lot of special effects shots in this movie, but I think what is there works. Right now, Demon Knight had a budget of $12 million. Right, you compare this to some movies that were made in the 70s and the 80s. Like I think Evil Dead was famously made for under $1 million. I think it was something like $400,000 or something like that. And it sounds high, right? But this is 1995, not the 70s, right? And I adjusted for inflation, right? And in today's money, $12 million works out to roughly 21.4 million, right? So that's not a lot of money by today's standards to make a movie. And this is a movie that was put out by who was it? Universal, right? So like it had studio money, studio muscle behind it, and yet it's got virtually no budget. So how did it end up looking? Right? Did the demon makeup effects convince you, like, where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's a demon, right? The gore, the blood, how does all that work for the movie? I mean, it's a horror movie, so if we're immediately sucked out, like, oh no, man, that I see it right there, that sucks us out of the movie. So did the budget affect the movie negatively, or were they, pretty good with what they had?
I liked a lot of things of it. What I didn't like was the green blood. I mean, that just looked fucking absurd and ridiculous.
That was glow stick paint.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it. It literally
Yeah.
looked like it. I mean, it was one of those things where, and it was just too watery for my taste. As far as special effects, it's
Why
like,
why,
it
why are
wasn't
you
even-
why are you tasting the blood though? You probably shouldn't be drinking it.
and so it looked, so that's the one thing. The monsters looked okay, I think. The demons, I think that they looked okay, and I was, it's fine with it. Like, it didn't even take me out of the movie, but the green, when he started like throwing his green water out of his hands, I was like, oh, that looks bad. That doesn't look good.
It reminded me of Predator.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're not feeling that one?
No, I mean, it didn't remind me of Predator. I mean, no, it didn't. I just not me, anyways. I guess, but I think the rest of the effects hold up. I think the red blood, the blood at the doorways, that was a cool effect. Shit, even when it went back to the crucifixion, I thought that looked good. I thought everything looked, it was like,
See,
fine. It was good.
That's one spot where I disagree. I feel it's when they did the crucifixion scenes, like, that took me out of the movie. Like, those felt bad.
It was very clearly like a screen behind
it was obviously
there
just
was
like
no
a
depth.
like that. It's like the budget for, it's all their budget went into like the dope ass way that each person like changed, right? Like, that was awesome. Like, those
like,
special effects are great. And then at the end they're like, oh shit, we forgot to film when Christ is being crucified. Like, what do we got? What do we got?
I Live a Midnight. That explosion, like, by far the most expensive shot in the film. I thought what looked cheesy in the crucifixion scene, to be honest with you, was a lizard. I'm like, why is he fucking lizard all of a sudden? Like, why are we not seeing the same demons that we've been seeing in this movie already? That's the one thing that threw me off, that it was a lizard man. I was like, lizard man, where the fuck is this coming from? But
the demons had those same lizard tails.
But the faces in the flashback, I thought looked more reptilian than his minions that were in the hotel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I think also
it looked like a
because of the
straight up
lighting.
lizard, in comparison to like a skull.
But I think it's more because of the lighting. Because one of the other things they mentioned in the documentaries, and you don't really see it. You only see it on one of the demons. What they did on the face, there was piercings. There was a bunch of stuff that you really couldn't see, because most of the times when the demons were in the shot, it was excessively dark, so you really couldn't make out all the features. So it could very well be that it was the same lizard face, it's just you couldn't see it.
Sure enough, but it felt different.
If I were a betting man, I'd say that it was the same exact demon makeup, but when you don't have a lot of demon makeup to go around, right, and you've got maybe the same couple prosthetics, you're going to want to use low lighting to hide that. Right. Low lighting can hide a lot of fallbacks.
Yeah.
In special effects, particularly, and so I think they did that. Like, I didn't even realize that they had tails until there was one shot where I think it's right as Thomas Hayden Church is making that deal with Billy Zane.
Oh.
And there's this, shot from the side where you see them coming up the stairs. I'm like, oh fuck, they have tails.
Yeah.
So that's when I was
news to me. That's actually, I didn't even know that it had tails.
Yeah. You're right. That may be the only scene where you do see them, but I know exactly the spot you're talking about, because I did the same thing.
I thought I had seen a demon penis earlier.
This guy always looking for demon penises.
because of the way it was shot. It was like from straight on, and he was like jumping, and I was like, "Is that
Jason,
is that demon
a
dick?
cock?
Is that demon dick?"
Did you see demon dick?
So they had originally they had originally submitted a budget for like an army of demons. And then the studio came back and said, "Yeah, we're not going to have any demons. It's just going to be people with sunglasses on."
Yeah, best I can do is
Sunglasses
4.
and suits, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sunglasses. So it was going to look like Men in Black with like a couple boils and stuff around the face, and like it would be that, you know, lowering your eyes and there's the light. But then they were like, "Okay, well, how about we just have like 6 deep, because you can't have they're like, you call the one of the guy who was in charge of the makeup was like, you're making a movie called Demon Knight and you're not going to have any actual demons inside
What
of
is
the,
he?
in the
What
movie."
is he knighting against?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're having these Men in Black looking motherfuckers instead of actual demons.
The special effect though that stood out to me the most in a very negative way, and it's the most ridiculous one. It's the most ridiculous thing to like stand out and upset me. That fucking like Bobcat Sex Panther growl that would happen like every time like they like looked at the key or like they like stuck it on the hand. And it's the exact same sound effect as when Ron Burgundy or when Paul Rudd opens his cologne and the Sex Panther comes up. It's like the exact same thing. And it was it was like the glass shattering from How I Met Your Mother. Like I noticed it early in the movie when he looked at his hand, and then every time it happened, it was just piercing. I was like, why of all the sound effects is this what we went with? So that one got me as far as a negative thing. And then
maybe it's because we're Florida Panther fans, but that didn't stop us. We're like,
that growl, yeah. I was like, all right, pause up, cool.
Just scored a goal. I get it. All right.
The other thing, and I guess it's like a combination of like special effects and just kind of whatever. It cracks me up that just tossing Jada Pinkett in the shower for like 30 seconds was enough that her outfit was white as hell again.
And she was dry.
Yeah, and she's completely dry. And I was like, I've gotten a drop of blood on clothing before that has never come out. This chick doused herself in it, and he was like, burr, 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 and we're good. And she's like, looks, I mean, just Clorox commercial white. Dude, all of a sudden, that cracked me up.
OxyClean, bro. She
Billy Mays was one of the demons. So like the one special effect that I was like, oh boy, every time I watch it is the at the beginning when the Crypt Keeper's dressed like the director and he walks towards Larroquette. And it's like, and the thing is like, if you go back today after we finish recording and just go to that scene, and you can see where the green screen is still lighting up on the neck, because they just had a guy with a green head walk up to be the Crypt Keeper.
They use like rear projection or something on it, and it does not look good. And then the thing is that they used the puppet for the next shot.
Yeah,
and it looks so much better. I don't know why they didn't just use the puppet for that first shot.
Yeah, he didn't need to be walking up there. But what I love about the movie is the majority of it is practical effects, and I'm always all for practical effects. Yeah. Like you have my heart if you're going to do practical effects. I really dig it.
And speaking of that opening scene, John Larroquette's like reanimated, corpse coming out of the acid, like the way that the flesh just turns to goop.
Yeah, and like he steps and a piece just falls off. It was
so yummy. Oh, it was delicious. Yeah, the fingers are snapping right off because the bones are turning to pudding. It was it was awesome.
Yeah,
I love
and
that one.
Like I said, great. budget used in all those places. Then they were just like, oh shit, man. It's like it's always funny when you can spot that moment where when they suddenly realize they only had this much money left.
I didn't imagine the production manager be like, all right, we're doing the Crucible. Is that today?
Hold on a second.
We got some 2x4s and an orange screen. Go.
That's today? No, I thought we were doing that next month. It's done. It's done. I got it.
I mean, all in all, I think with the budget that they had, they didn't do a bad job. I think you'd be hard pressed to do more with $12 million in 1995.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
I mean, if I'd had $12 million in 1995, I was 12. So, I mean, Lord, I'd been Richie Rich in it, catapult myself to school and shit. So they made a movie. Good for them.
Blank check.
Oh, I love Blank Check. Mr. McIntosh. All right, so I think we covered pretty much anything. Anyone want to add anything before we wrap this one up?
We talked about lines earlier that stand out. I love the moment when Thomas Hayden Church is walking away right before he dies, and he says "Vaya con Dios," and Billy Zane just perfectly replies, "Yeah, Vaya con Diablos." Like it's such like this little throwaway thing, but it just so perfectly paints the character, just how nonchalantly he says it, like he's just that's just how he replies to that, and it's. That goes back to the Point Break in me. That's just a phrase that I love. And so just to hear him so perfectly reply to that, I just loved that. That was something I was going to say back in character development.
There were the two things I forgot to mention. One was that the demon birthing scene reminded me a lot of Jason and the Argonauts.
Well, they based it off of that.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I picked up on something there, because him like spreading the blood and the demon sprouting from the ground, to me that was just like when they bring the skeletons out at the end of Jason and the Argonauts, and I thought that was a really cool callback to what is one of the most iconic scenes in movie history. And the other thing was there was one. I think at least it got me. There's one genuine jump scare in this movie where I was like, "Oh shit!" And it's when you finally see Demon Willie.
Oh
yeah, that one actually got me. I'm with Nery. I don't think that this is a particularly scary movie. You're using horror monsters, classic horror monsters, demons, and possessed people and stuff like that. But as far as it being scary, terrifying, I don't think it really is. But that Demon Willie jump scare, I think, is particularly good, and I knew it was coming, and it still got me. And I think that's a good sign of a good jump scare when it's like, I knew you were coming, and you still got me.
And Dabona, you were talking about like funny lines. Roach has, I love that the line when he's in the on the bed, and it's just like, my nipples are smoking.
My nipples are smoking.
And then the deputy goes like downstairs, and they're like, what was going on there? And he said something like, when your pickup truck breaks down, and
he's like holding like the jumper cables,
like
he's
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Like
that was a character that had really good character development, because he started off as
Barney Fife.
He was pretty much Barney Fife, and but by the end he's actually a competent police officer, who's thinking about others and saving lives.
Yeah,
he's a sniper. I'm a fucking shoot eyeballs out. Like
that's what I'm saying, man.
And
at least it makes sense for him. He's a cop. At least you could at least have like he's a cop.
He had to pass a shooting exam.
Yeah.
One other quick thing. So just as a praise, because we haven't really talked about the director, Ernest Dickinson. He said they gave him a 40-day filming window to film the movie. He ended up deciding to put the movie to do the set in just an airport hangar, since it was just going to be one building, so that they could film at any time. He said, and this might be why when you listen to a lot of the actors that were in this movie, all they say is the praise of it and how they would love to do a sequel and how this was one of the best experiences they've had. Is he said, I'm not going to go to the 40 days, and I'm also not going to overwork my crew. So they had 9 to 5 shooting days, and then he would send them home so they could be with their families, do whatever they want to do, everything like that. So that says a lot about him, thinking about his crew and thinking about the actors and everybody in the movie, and not just, I need to make myself look good, I'm going to work these people to the bone.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out.
The bonus, like, maybe make your crew work one weekend.
It's like, I mean,
one weekend, so you could do the crucible.
Just the crucifix scene. That's it. Maybe Sunday.
One,
it's like, exactly.
Can we leave at 9 today instead of 5? Just put in a couple extra hours.
We'll buy you pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, so Geoff recommended a couple different rating systems. I really like X out of 5 battery powered nipple clamps.
Here for it.
I think that's the real winner here. So Nery, out of 5 possible battery powered nipple clamps, how many would you give this?
5.
Okay.
Adamant.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it knew exactly what it was. It didn't try to be more. It wasn't any less. It knew exactly what it was. It gave me exactly what it was going to give me. When you tell me Tales from the Crypt, right? We all know it's going to be funny. We all know it's going to have some horror elements, and it delivered. It was fun. My problems with the plot are what we talked about earlier. They didn't change my reaction to the movie. They were MacGuffins. It doesn't matter. So for me to give it for me to take away anything of it because of the problems that I had with the plot, the problem that I had with the plot didn't change the movie. It wasn't going to change the movie. The movie was just a fun. It's just a fun ride. It was, if you know what it felt like. It felt like you were going through a really cool haunted house, and you're just there along for the ride, and you see some funny shit, and you see some funny goofs. Like, oh, you see how cheesy that was, but it was all within the spirit of the haunted house. It wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, we have the world's most expensive haunted house, and then you see some fucking doll pop up. It was like, exactly, like you go to the county fair and you go to the haunted house,
Right?
and you know where all the turns are gonna go, but yeah, it's fucking fun.
I could tell he digged it because he was sending me text messages of just lines.
Yeah,
And I was like,
the fact that I had to look this up, that it was not
I
nominated.
was like, oh, he's there.
Like,
he's at that part, and he was just.
It's great. I mean, I lost my shit when she said, "Get that pussy off the table," and then
that
she
was so
fucking
good.
jumped off the fucking table. That's what made it funnier. You could have
And she's
left
like,
her
"I meant the
alone and
cat."
get the cat out, but she jumped off the table and she goes, "Oh, I meant the cat." Like,
That
good,
smirk that she uses when she says "I meant the cat" is just perfect.
man.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey.
Good times.
DeBona, what about you?
I mean, I thought I knew where I was going to go, but Nery has a really good point. So I'll go. I'm going to go a little bit higher, and I'm going to go 3.5. I was just going to go 3, but I think I do.
When you said you're going to go higher than 5, Jesus Christ!
No, higher than I was going to go. I was going to go just.
We're giving extra credit points.
Yeah, no,
He's
I was
going to
going to go
7
just
stars.
3, because but you've got a very good point in the fact that the movie knew what it was, and I knew what I was in for when I got it, and it delivered on what I wanted from it. So I'm going to go 3 because I think it's a solid watch. I think it's a lot of fun.
3.5.
3.5. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm going to go 3.5. So because it's a solid watch. It's one that I would recommend to somebody.
I want to rewatch it.
And so yeah, I'll go 3.5 nipple clamps. I don't know what you do with the half of one, but you know what you do. You know what you do.
Yeah,
you know what you do.
You know where that goes.
So you're right. The movie knew what it was. It was a lot of fun. Some of the special effects and stuff like that. The occasional just like little thing that took me out of the moment is why I can't go any higher than that.
And if you watch Bordello of Blood, there is a 3-tittied vampire in it. So
I've seen Bordello of Blood, man.
Yeah, so you can use it on her.
Hey.
So obviously, this was my recommendation. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that nostalgia is not going to be a huge factor in my rating. Also, I agree with Nery 100%. Typically, the movies that I've recommended to you guys or that I watch, I know what they are, and as long as they realize what they are and they're not trying to be something bigger than what they are, I can appreciate it. I adore this movie. Like I said, I've watched it 3 times in the last 5 days, and I'm still not. And it's on again. I'm still not tired of it. You know, I have to go with a 5 nipple clamps because I don't get tired of this movie, and I know 5. I'm not comparing it to like
right. You're
masterpiece. This is for this movie
thing, right?
Right.
Fair enough.
So
that's why it's out of nipple clamps. It's not.
Right.
That's why the rating changes for each one because we're looking at each movie individually.
I love it, and it reemphasized my love for watching that documentary that I told you guys about. Which for the folks, I don't think I mentioned the documentary, but I haven't mentioned on here that it's on YouTube. Just type in Demon Eye documentary. it reemphasized my love for the movie. Plus, seeing a lot of the responses from people on my Facebook some people that I didn't even realize were be into that movie. With that, they were telling me, "Oh, that movie's fantastic. I love that movie. That movie's so great." So it just reemphasized and added to my rating on there. So yeah, five electric nipple clamps.
All right.
Put them where you will.
So I, kind of like Debona. Nery kind of convinced me to go a little higher. I was gonna go 3.5. And I think in a perfect rating system, I would go 3 3/4 stars. But no one uses quarters, right? And so I
we didn't even know you could do halves until the first
Yeah.
episode. So
so I was thinking, all right, well, I'm gonna round down instead of rounding up and go down to 3.5. But I think I'm gonna go up to 4. I'm gonna go up to 4 stars. Movie's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun watching it. There are moments where I wish the movie would either lean more into the comedy of it or lean more into the horror of it. And I think for that reason, I'm not going to give it a 5.
I love that you said that as the decapitated head of the Crypt Keeper showed up on the screen in the back, saying they gave me final cut.
hey,
That was so great. But I really like this movie for what it is, and I think that there is enough of Tales from the Crypt to feel like I've done like a little mini marathon once I've finished watching this. Nery, you should definitely go back and watch some of those classic Tales from the Crypt.
I want to. Like I really, this made me I remember watching a couple episodes a few years ago and thinking to myself, I should probably watch more. And then watching this yesterday, I was talking to Geoff. I was like, yeah, I really should be watching more.
Death of Some Salesman. Tim Curry plays an entire redneck, like inbred family. Spectacular.
Well, Tim Curry's in part 3 of the trilogy of this movie, Ritual.
What's the one with Don Rickles with the ventriloquist dummy?
I don't remember.
Let's see.
That was fun. Average star, by the way, average rating for this movie was 4.3.
Yeah, 4.3. So that's not bad, right? I that's definitely a recommend. Oh, it's called The Ventriloquist Dummy, season 2, episode 10. It's the last one in the season. So that's a really great one.
They have these on DVD. Is the digital not like, is DVD quality just the same as the?
Yeah, I mean it's still just
quality?
Yeah. Like I've got seasons 1 and 2 on DVD, and I mean they're not upgraded, remastered at all.
Okay.
I think I have seasons 1 through 4 maybe in iTunes. And I was buying them as I was rewatching, and then I kind of like moved away from it and didn't continue. I think the only thing Schwarzenegger has ever directed is an episode for Tales from the Crypt, which is a really good one too. So there you have it. 4.3 is the average. That's pretty good. That's been Demon Night. So we will pick up where we left off for next time when we continue with The Conjuring, and that'll be Geoff. You're always welcome to come back on. So if you want to come back for The Conjuring, you're more than welcome. Please make sure to check out
the episode that Arnold Schwarzenegger directed is the one that you've seen, Nery, with the old guy trading his body parts. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I shared that on our chat. Well, that's fine.
Okay, missed it. Sorry.
No, Arnold Schwarzenegger tweeted that out X amount of months ago, and I was like, oh shit, this is the one episode I've seen. Yeah.
It wasn't about a maid. Okay.
So please make sure that you check out the other Geek Bro podcasts. We've got What's Up Bro, we've got Mount Geek More, we've got Seasons, we've got Comedy Fitness coming back soon, A Dose of Ellie, Childlike at Best, Better Let Me Tell You. Is the martial arts one up already?
No, we're doing our first recording on Thursday. So in 2 days from the time of this recording. So if you listen to the audio version of this, it's already up. It's Kickflix, all one word like Netflix, but with kicking. So Kickflix, go to Kickflix Pod on all social medias. Kickflix Pod.
All right, there you go.
We're doing sidekicks for the
Yeah,
first
we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about sidekicks. We're watching and reviewing 1992's classic sidekicks. So
Classic. All right, we're just throwing terms around these days, I guess.
Fuck,
Truth
I
be
just
told,
say
I haven't.
just say whatever is whatever. I don't give a fuck.
I haven't seen Sidekicks
it's in the
many
family
years,
share. Go
so.
ahead. Go ahead. It's in the family share. Watch it.
Deep Impact.
Oh.
If you want to know what that's about, you got to go listen to the Last Mount Geek more. So you can get all these things at geekbro.net. Follow us on all our social media. Everything is ShiverPod. Twitter, Instagram. We should start a TikTok. Do like a horror TikTok. I don't know what we put up there, but we can think about that later. I don't know.
Nery TikToks.
I tried, man. I had to take a break in the last couple of weeks because my life has been getting really busy with adding all these podcasts, but it's just hard. TikTok is like a full-time, like getting in, like it's really like it's learning a whole new muscle. It's really, really, it's fun when it comes out right, but fuck, it's hard.
I tried to post one and I was like, no.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do.
No.
Yeah, I was like, no, you know what? I'll just watch.
So thank you so very much for being here with us and listening to us talk about Demon Knight, and we will see you all next time. Fright you very much.